There is nothing explicit the government has said it's legal now and we'll never make it illegal, right? Firstly, even if it's legal today, it can be made illegal tomorrow, right? It has happened a lot with many things over the time, not only in India, everywhere in the world. We know what has happened with Facebook, the recent results that they released, that their users are actually dropping for the first time in their history, right? Obviously, Facebook would know that trend is coming.
If you were to reconsider your marriage again, would you do it in Metaverse or would you still do it in physical land? Hello everyone, welcome to series Conversation with Kushal once again. A lot of you might be having questions about Metaverse, Web 3.0, what's happening in the NFT space. Recently, the government announced a 30% taxation on the cryptocurrencies as well. They called it as virtual digital currencies, which includes NFTs as well as cryptocurrencies. So today we have an NFT Web 3.0 Metaverse expert, Anshul Rustaggi, who is the founder of Totality Corp and bringing a ultimate change in the society through his NFT Zionverse. And he is going to help all of us understand what is Web 3.0, how are people getting married in Web 3.0, how are people buying lands in Web 3.0, is this even possible, and his entire overview. Thank you so much, Anshul, for accepting my invitation and coming up on the show. It's an honor having you here.
Thank you, Kushal. Really excited to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. And it's great to be here. And I really look forward to our conversation.
Absolutely, Anshul. Anshul, the first things first, recently, yesterday, day before yesterday itself, I read a news that people are buying land in Metaverse now. People are also getting married in Metaverse. So, like, just for the entire audience itself, just to simplify it, let's break it down. What exactly is Metaverse and how is it going to help the society in the future?
Okay, great. So I think for us to really understand the metaverse and Web3, I'll have to take you through a little bit of journey, right? And everyone who's watching this. So the internet really, started coming together in the 90s, right? In the mid 90s to early 2000 was the age of Web 1.0. And during the age of Web 1.0, we were really reading data, right? And what it was is like through websites, you were really writing, and a lot of people were really just consuming data. You couldn't interact with it much. 2003-4 onwards to, I would say, 2021 was the era of Web 2.0, where you could really interact with the data. You could like the post, comment on them. Creator economy came into being, where you could suddenly start creating content. TikTok did it for videos. Facebook did it really for posts, which was text. Instagram did it for pictures, right? And now we're rushing into this era of Web 3. So to me, to understand Web 3, I really look at three things, right? So Web 3 is going to bring immersion, Web 3 is going to bring ownership, and it'll bring integrated economics. So if I had one formula, is Web 3 is equal to immersive plus ownership plus integrated economics. So now let's look at the immersive part. If we see what's happening with sort of social networks, right? Humans are social animals. Being part of a community, society is very basal instinct for us. We really need it. And we really need to connect in different ways. When we used to have, palaces, etc., it was a small, physically tied world. We then moved to a world where people could write letters to each other. We then moved to a world with landlines, mobile phones. Then internet really opened it up a lot more. Social media opened it up even more. And now what Web3 is doing is it's building on the same concept of the social network and community, but doing it in a more immersive manner, right? So what we see in Ready Player One, where people are wearing these, VR headsets in that movie, wearing, body suits, etc. Or what we see, what Facebook is also trying to do, is an immersive world of what we have seen so far, right? So the weddings you're talking about taking place in the metaverse, where at least two people were the 3D avatars. However, the announcement that came today that two people got married on the blockchain, that they gifted each other an NFT to actually got married, and I can touch on that as well. After this metaverse concept, is really to say that the digital world and that immersion is my digital twin, right? So the idea of the twin is it's me in the real life. This is the way I look. My twin will look a little bit similar, but I could obviously change its hairstyle, the way it looks, change the body style, etc. Make it edgy, make it more serious, make it into an animal looking thing, make it a fusion, whatever I wanted to. But it's a 3D world. I'm moving around in cities like I do in real life. I have a car like I have in real life, etc. And it's my digital twin, and that's the immersion part of it, right? So whether that's virtual land by Decentraland, or Ember Sword, which is another game, etc., or it's these weddings, this is really focusing on the concept of virtual worlds as digital twins, which gives you a lot more immersion, right? So instead of just seeing a video, a video is a lot more immersive than reading text. But now I am actually a 3D avatar moving around in the place and interacting. So that's really the idea. But I'll expand here and say that metaverse and Web3 isn't limited there. That's only the concept of immersion, right? We then move to the concept of ownership, and why people are buying these virtual lands, etc. Is so far in Web 2, right? You didn't own your data. Whatever interaction you did not own your network, right? Like I always give this example of WhatsApp versus Signal. Let's take another example of Zomato. Whatever ordering history I have is actually owned by Zomato. Now say tomorrow I want to move to Swiggy, they will have zero amount of my data. I'll have to do all the ordering again for them to personalize what they show me, right? Same with my Google search results. If I move from Google to say DuckDuckGo, I'll have to build up my search history again if I want that personalization. What if you actually own this data yourself as an NFT? Then whichever platform you move to, you give permission to that platform to access this data NFT, and they can personalize that result for you. Like what Brave browser does is it allows you to browse the internet. You have the choice to either see ads. If you see ads, they give you the BAT token as a benefit for allowing you to see the data and for sharing your data. So the world is moving towards more ownership so that you have more autonomy, and you are also able to decide what to do with what you are producing and the actions you are taking. The last important part is this integrated economics. See, in the digital world, economics has been an afterthought. Like if you see WhatsApp, part of a utility for all of us today, no monetization. They are trying WhatsApp Pay today, but they're not charging you. There have been talks about it'll be $1 per year charge, etc. They could never bring it because they were very afraid that people will just suddenly leave WhatsApp, right? But if you ask anyone today, WhatsApp is probably part of your, daily digital interaction for most people, if not all the people, right?
Yeah.
What is happening with Web3 is because you have ownership to begin with, the economics part is integrated. So as you build this social network, which comes from a more immersive layer, you have ownership. The integrated economics is also an essential part, that the business model and what you get from this ecosystem and how value is created is defined at the very beginning itself. And the reason that really helps is, like we used to do business in our parents' generation, profit and revenue, etc., wasn't an afterthought. It wasn't like, I'll open a factory, I'll start making products, and I'll figure out later whether anyone even wants to buy it, right? You figured that I will only make a product that people want to buy. Similarly, in Web3, economics is going to be something that you have to solve for from day zero itself. So again, I'll just summarize. Web3 is immersion plus ownership plus integrated economics. A lot of attention, because of what Facebook is doing, is given to just the immersion part itself. But that's a very limited part of what we are talking about in the metaverse.
Right, got it. And I think after Facebook changed their name to Meta, in fact, the metaverse and Web 3.0 gained more importance because then people got to know about this thing. So even like frankly speaking, I had no clue about metaverse before Facebook changed its name to Meta. And I was just wondering, why did it use the word Meta? What is the logic? So through Google searches, watching a lot of YouTube videos, I came across this concept of metaverse. In fact, in one of the podcasts with Raj Shamani, whom I had also recently interviewed for my YouTube channel, you had mentioned that because of COVID, this Web 3.0 and Metaverse that has gained more traction. So tell me one thing, wanted to understand your views. Had COVID not happened, do you still think that Metaverse or Web 3.0 would have gained the same amount of traction, or it would have been a problem, or it would have taken more amount of time?
So obviously difficult to speculate, but I would also say that I agree with the hypothesis that everything got accelerated, right? So now with hindsight that we know what has happened with Facebook, the recent results that they released, that their users are actually dropping for the first time in their history, right? Obviously Facebook would know that trend is coming, right? So now it doesn't just seem like this does not seem like a marketing thing that people were doing to get away from the privacy debate of Facebook. This actually now seems like a very strategic plan, because Mark Zuckerberg knew what is coming down the pipe, which is the users are decreasing. Now, would he have faced this another 2 years from now, or would every company have faced this another 2 years from now? Probably, because the rate of digital adoption overall has gone up tremendously, right? Like as an example, the percentage of sales, retail sales in the US, which are online, was only 11% pre-corona, only, right? Like people are shocked to hear that. They're like, how can that be in the US? Seems like everyone just orders online. It went as high as 27% after corona. So what happened in 25 years, we 2.5 timed it in a matter of 1 year itself, right?
Yeah.
Because of necessity, like what has happened with hybrid home working or remote working also really happened because of corona. So the trend was in place, acceleration happened because of corona. So I do agree that would Web3, attention to Web3, because of the seeming issue with what is already happening in Web2, its saturation, and hence the natural need that we now need to elevate to the next level, right? The ideas about metaverse, actually the term metaverse itself comes from a book, Snow Crash, which was written in the mid-90s, right? So that's like, I always tell people that that's like the Bible, the origin of the metaverse, etc., right? So we have to think like from the mid-90s to now, 25 years, right? Tons of people, even over the last decade, I have been reading metaverse, very nerdy, limited concept. But once the blockchain came, because the blockchain really enabled true ownership, right? Before the blockchain, we really didn't have a way to decentralize ownership, which the blockchain enabled. And the blockchain, Bitcoin has been around since 2009, right? Paper came out in 2008. So once blockchain enabled the way to actually get decentralized ownership, the talks started, right? Obviously, because now all the Web2 players were getting saturated because of the adoption, the need to actually get an idea started coming now, right? So even when we started working on the metaverse in August 2020, right? No one knew about it. Like you were rightly saying, the idea was like, I would talk to people. They would be like, I don't even know what the hell you are talking about. Please, I don't get it. You have gone mad, right? And it felt like it's a very niche, nerdy idea. But I thought that this will be really big. I never bet that, or I obviously didn't know that Facebook would convert their brand, which would just make it like my mom could also come and say, oh, you are also doing metaverse. Didn't get it before. But if Mark Zuckerberg is also betting on it, then you also do it, huh? Because now it's okay. Because someone like Mark Zuckerberg is betting on this, right? So the great amount of validation. So I would say like the entire Web3 economy in terms of consumer adoption owes a lot to Mark Zuckerberg because of what he did for Facebook converting to the Meta name itself. So I think like that system's adoption would have probably taken, even after COVID, would have probably taken another 3-4 years, what he was able to do in a matter of one day itself.
Yeah. No, absolutely. That makes sense. And in fact, after a point of time, everyone, even in office conversations, even in dinner table, lunch table conversations, people are starting to discuss about metaverse, their views on NFTs, cryptos, etc. So, like even during these dinner table conversations, one of the colleagues had asked me about this thing, and this is the same question which I'm going to ask you. So it's like if people want to get married in, let's say, metaverse, or if people are buying a piece of land in metaverse. So tell me one thing. First of all, why will a person buy a piece of land in metaverse? And secondly, even if he buys in metaverse, how will he value that land? Because see, in reality, if I'm like purchasing a plot of land, I know I can build a residential complex. I can at least sell it that to another person who can use it in terms of building something, or at least capital appreciation will be there. But in metaverse, I don't even know if it exists or not. Like it is not even physical. So why will a person invest in a virtual land, and what is the utility over there?
Got it. So see, I think we could probably debate for an entire day as to what is the value of something versus the price of something, right? But we'll not enter that debate. It's the same thing like gold. If you could not use gold for either electricity or jewelry, why is there a value of gold, right? The value actually exists because predominantly we trust it, right? We trusted that someone else will always buy the gold, and because of that trust, that there is some value attached because the other person also trusted it is very valuable. That is essentially why Bitcoin has value, right? Now let's come to your question of virtual land. So pretty much like any place, like if you say I showed you a piece of land and I said, here is land, and you will say, okay, I can build a house, I can grow agriculture, I can build an office, I can build a factory. Great. But the first question you will ask is ki, even for agriculture, building an office, etc., you'll be like, who are the people around? Like who is coming to actually work here take this place on rent, or even help me kind of cut whatever I'll grow there. So I'll say, oh my God, you are only 5 kilometers from Delhi border, from Gurgaon border, wherever. You're right in the middle of the city. Tons of people are around, huge movement. So the same idea that it is used a lot by others because there is a network effect, gives it value, and that value you can derive from constructing a house or an office or selling it to someone else. So you get a higher price. The value comes from the network effect. Same way in a virtual land like Decentraland, the idea is that Decentraland, if you believe, will be a very big network, right? It has already got some people, but it will keep growing. Then getting access to Decentraland and the people has value. The way you can derive value out of Decentraland, they have left it to you. They have said, I have given you the land, you build whatever digital experience you want to build, you charge what you want to charge, that's up to you. Like obviously on land, there are a lot of government rules and other rules that you have to follow of the state and the municipality, etc. They have done very limited rules. They have given you a lot of freedom to build, and you can extract that price, the value, and hence your price can go up. So in effect, you betting on any digital land is a bet on that ecosystem's success to create a network effect, that there will be people coming in today and in the future it will keep growing. If that bet is right, you will make money, right? And then to derive value out of it, like I said, you will have to execute something. Like you rightly said, can I build a house on it? Can I build an office on it, etc.? Then you will have to see which execution gives you the highest price of that value creation you have done. So that's one. The second part is the marriage part is great, right? Because the marriage is, see, everyone today, one thought is marriage is by and large once in a lifetime event. So that's changing in our society, but it's a one-time event, and you want it to be special. You want it to be something memorable, not only for you, but your family, your friends, everyone, right? And Metaverse gives you that great opportunity because no one is doing it, right? So it definitely has that, that factor that, oh, you guys did something completely edgy and different. And since, like you rightly pointed out, everybody knows about the Metaverse, if tomorrow I go and say that I got married in the Metaverse, nobody will think that you're crazy. They'll say, okay, we know, but like, what did you do, right? Like, show us a video. And you show a video of two avatars walking down and you saying, hey, I did it. Like today, this news came out that two people got married on and there was a smart contract. Like, look, that has actually no legal validity, right? Like I have at least done LLB, so I can tell you, I am very like, marriage in India under personal law has very defined rules. Like what is considered a marriage by Hindu law or Muslim law or Christian or interreligious marriage or under the Special Marriage Act has specific rules. We can't just say that you and I or you and someone else just exchange blockchain rings and we have gotten married. But it's a nice gimmick. It's a nice gimmick. They got a lot of PR. They made their marriage special. So kudos to them for actually thinking out of the box to make that special day really special by applying this. And oh, by the way, it actually doesn't cost much, right? So that's the other beauty. So rather than doing this, like people do a lot of things to make the marriage special, right? Like people will come down from the helicopter. They will get 5-10 elephants. Environment gets destabilized by some of these huge tents that people put, and they'll come on boats and do whatever stuff, right? At least this way, this was a little execution was easier, definitely cheaper, and yet they got the same impact of that aha factor. That wow, you guys are doing something unique and special, and we get it, right? Maybe we don't get it exactly, but now everybody knows NFTs, Ethereum, Metaverse. So people will be like, oh, we get that you're doing something cutting edge on it. So yeah, kudos to them for thinking that way.
Right. And when it comes to getting married in Metaverse, so for example, there are two avatars, which you said. So like, how does it happen in terms of, as in like two avatars would be there, but the real, like the two people who are getting married, as in they have to be present somewhere, or how does it happen? I mean, just curious to know.
So I don't know the details of the marriage that actually took place in the Metaverse. I only read a few articles as well. But obviously you could do it many different ways, right? Like you could actually control the avatars like you control in a game. So literally, like I'm sitting on my laptop, the girl was sitting on her laptop or whatever. The bride was sitting on her laptop, groom was sitting on his laptop, and they were controlling it through their laptop, moving through the stuff. Maybe they pressed a button which would, either exchange the rings or put the garland or whatever custom they did to actually get married. Or it could actually also be an animation that was pre-recorded, right? Where it's an avatar that looks like the groom, the avatar that looks like the bride, and they come into this place and it's all pre-recorded sort of stuff, which was actually could be just sent as a marketing gimmick, right? Now the animation part is actually even easier to execute because you don't need to give agency or control to the people, or maybe they gave control to the people and you got married. So, so I do not know the exact way they actually got it executed, but I would say it'll be one of these two.
Yeah, got it. I think, this is helpful in terms of understanding. But do you really think that the elder generation, considering in the Indian economy, they are going to adapt to this kind of technology, let's say 20 years down the line?
So see, if you ask me a question like when WhatsApp came, right? Like, will my father be more active on the WhatsApp than I am? My answer would be, I doubt it, right? Like, but the reality is he is, right? And what you have told me that when Facebook came and I was active and going crazy, that Anshul, do you think your mother would be sharing pictures of your family on Facebook and you probably will stop doing it? I would say no, but that's the reality today, right?
Yeah.
So the reality is that there is an adoption curve. So the younger people are obviously more open, also because for established social network where everyone is, they don't find it hip. They also want to have their own place to chill, right? Because that's the age, that's what you really want. So as new technology comes, as new things come, A, they're open, B, they learn a lot of this. They are more up to date with what, influencers like yourself are saying. So they understand what is coming, they understand the technology. They have this need to have a new place where others aren't there yet. So adoption always first happens with the young. Then the people who are more curious, they want to understand it. Is there money to be made here? Will jump in. Then more business people will jump in. And obviously people like our parents, like you're talking about, the older generation, are definitely going to be the laggards, right? But if you ask today now people talk about Web 1, Web 2, Web 3. Of course, a lot of people used to talk about Web 2 also, but general public wasn't really talking about Web 2 because there wasn't any need, right? But now that people talk about Web3, people are like, oh yeah, I used to use, I could only read stuff on the thing. Now on mobile, I can even create stuff, etc. Yes, it's true. So it has been a very seamless adoption, right? This is my point. Like today, when you use WhatsApp, you're almost like, oh, was there a time when I was SMSing people? Like sounds insane, right? Now, the only time I use SMS is to see OTP, really, right? Like very few people I message through SMS to have a conversation. Maybe a few iMessage, but otherwise it's by and large WhatsApp that you do it, right? Similarly with social network, it used to be Facebook, then it was Instagram. Now I'm more active on Twitter and LinkedIn. That journey is different for different people. Maybe they were active on Facebook, now on Snapchat. As the numbers are telling us also, Snapchat is growing rapidly. Facebook is in a decline. So the same thing will happen. We are already seeing adoption by the younger generation for Web3 and crypto, which is why the audience, which is 14 to 25, and actually, funnily enough, 40 plus is very interested in Web3 and crypto, because 14 to 25 see it as a cool thing. They want to make careers in it. They want to understand it. It's a hip new thing that has come out. They want to see how they can make money. And the 40 plus majorly they're inquisitive. They have some time on their hand. They want to see what's happening. And they also see this as a money-making opportunity. They're probably not going to be the ones who are going to lead the adoption for these systems, right? And everyone much older than 60 and everyone in between, like the 25 to 35 broadly, who are right now, building their life, earning money, buying the house, getting married in the metaverse or in real life, etc., are still in that chain of, building the way we understand traditional life and building their careers. So which is why we have this adoption curve here and the adoption curve of age group here, but not in the middle right now. But I think the older generation's adoption is just bound to come. It will just lag like it has always done.
No, absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. In fact, even if I used to ask my dad that, do you want to use WhatsApp? He used to say no, like few years back, but now he's like very active on WhatsApp because that's the regular, it's being used in the regular day-to-day work itself. So that completely makes sense. Now delving into topics of NFTs, like non-fungible tokens, and what exactly you guys are doing at Zionverse. So can you help the audience understand what exactly is a non-fungible token? And secondly, what you guys are doing at Zionverse, which is like making an impact in the society?
So NFTs are non-fungible tokens. I'll first, basically what they are is they are a data layer that are actually unique to every person or every identity, right? And that's where I'll stop to say that all you have to consider, it's a data wrapper, a digital wrapper for anything that you can give to a person uniquely. Now, today, what we see mostly of NFTs is that it's art. So you can wrap art inside it. You can wrap music inside it. You can put videos inside it. You can put data inside it. So like I was talking about your Zomato personalized data or search data, that can be an NFT. If you want to put all your financial transactions, that can be an NFT. If you want to put all your photographs and all your memories, that can be an NFT. So you can do a lot with it. It's just a data wrapper, which is unique to your avatar or to a unique wallet or to some unique identity itself, right? So right now we're just scratching the surface of the use cases of NFTs, because we are really today mostly using it as digital art, but that's really changing, particularly in the West, where like profile picture projects, which are just limited to digital art, are now sort of on the decline, and NFTs are really getting you a lot of utility, whether that's access to events, access to different things digitally also, whether that's financial rewards directly coming from somewhere else, like we did with Lakshmi NFT, or whether that converts to a gaming avatar, etc. It's actually also incorporating a lot of utility, which I feel is the future of how NFTs are going to be. So NFTs will become like your gateway of the metaverse to exchange data. When the data will be unique to me, right? It will be an NFT. When the data is the same for everybody, it is fungible. It will be a crypto token ERC20, which I can exchange with you, right? So what we really think of is, oh, token is money, but NFT is something you buy from money. No, you like everything has value, right? And the problem we created currency, which was fungible, is so that we don't have to keep debating that, my cucumber is better than your cucumber or my rice, etc. And there was one standard of it, right? But we'll be able to come with all these standards much more easily on NFTs, because everything is now digital and on the blockchain. So that's one part. What we are doing in Zionverse is, like I talked about, we are creating a Web3 social network, which is built for the Indians, right? And it is built for India. It is made in India, and we want to really make it large, right? And one of the things I really felt that instead of, so obviously the time is now, like I said, Web3 and the natural evolution from moving from Web2 to Web3 is now. That's one. Two, I really feel that to get into some of these social networks and ecosystems. So I always see Zionverse as building a digital nation where everybody congregates and they are free to do whatever they want to do, right? To really build that, I thought that there are two things that people are very emotional about in India, right? I mean, many things, but two things generally. Like, we are obviously very emotional about family, but we are very emotional about cricket, and we are very emotional about our culture. So we felt that, Indian culture hasn't really gotten its due yet. So many powerful stories from Indian culture that are there, from a lot of stories which have been talked about in our mythology as well, right? Like Amish Tripathi has done a tremendous job with his trilogy. I've read all three books 3 times, and I love it because I really feel that I could connect with the character. I've like all of us have loved Lord Ganesha, Shiva, all these characters, and there is so much depth, right? But the TV serials have done a great job to give it to the audience, but it's not enough today, right? The Gen Z and millennials want to interact with this content in a new manner, in a more interactive manner, and in a context which is more relevant to them. And that context isn't TV serials anymore. So if you see, we have podcasts on Indian culture and mythology. We have comic books on it. Holy Cow Comics does a great job of Ravanayan Aghori, right? We have tons of people talking about it. Ranveer Alabadia, Beer Biceps, has done a lot of articles about Indian mythology, Hindu verse, etc. as well. And amazingly, when I just put this idea in a brainstorm, right, I wasn't sure that there'll be a lot of acceptance, right? Because I didn't know how many of Gen Zs and millennials are really accepted to, get this idea. My team, which is on an average 23 years, so young, like probably most startups, loved it, right? They were like, wow, we are really excited to build in this area. We already enough free time, think about such stuff. We are really connected about it. And that increased my confidence 10 times, because now my team is like, we got to do it. Then we talked to people outside. We obviously did our Lakshmi NFT, which was an NFT based on Goddess Lakshmi, which also, because Goddess Lakshmi is the goddess of wealth, or one of the avatars, is also gives you staking rewards in non-inflationary currency USDC. And we got a lot of love from the community and a lot of participation, all from India. We sold, more than $500,000 of it, more than 4 crore rupees of it in India alone, right? Much more than what other NFTs were being done for Bollywood stars, etc. Right? Because
That's
of course
commendable.
Bollywood, but it is, like I said, Indian culture, the emotion that we have for it and the love that we have for it is a different level itself. So after that, my confidence and my view went up 100 times what it was when I started with it, because now I know for a fact that people love it, and the audience we're trying to target is really motivated to actually aspire to have a community and an ecosystem where they interact with our Indian culture and content around it in the newest age possible, with NFTs, with Web3. They have ownership, they have immersion, and they have integrated economics, right? So in essence, we are a Web3 social network for India, by India, built around the Indian culture itself. And it's all happening in Web3. So it will be immersive. You will be the owner of it, and you will have integrated economics to begin with.
Got it. And how can a person purchase this NFT? So they have to go to your platform, or how does it happen? The entire process?
Yeah, so we sold Lakshmi NFT through our website, which is Zionverse.com. Lakshmi NFTs are all sold out, but we are coming out with our next set of NFTs and tokens in the next month or two. So I would definitely encourage people to either join our Discord, which is, I hope I'll give you the link so we can put it down. It's discord.gg/Zionverse.
Absolutely.
Or follow us on any of our socials, and you can keep updated with when the next launch is coming.
Right. No, that's very helpful. And thanks for simplifying the entire concept of NFTs as well, because people are just confused about what exactly is this NFT, what is this digital token, etc. Just a follow-up question on NFT front itself. Do you think that NFTs like CryptoPunks, which are being sold for millions of dollars? So for the entire audience who doesn't know what is CryptoPunks, it's just like a cartoon character, and it is like being sold for like millions of dollars. And there are around 10,000 CryptoPunks which are existing right now. So people who buy it, like they are in the community of CryptoPunks. So my question to you is that, do you think that NFTs like CryptoPunks, which are being sold for millions of dollars, is this a bubble which is being made, or do you really think that, no, this is not a bubble, this is like a really good value, and I am going to get benefit if I buy a CryptoPunk?
Okay, great question. So now let me say that, look, I'll actually start this from a very basic concept again.
Yeah.
So as humans, like for people who have maybe studied Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and many of them must know about it or have read about it in detail as well. Obviously, we have, physical needs, we have hunger, we have safety, etc., which are finite needs. Like once I eat, I only will eat again once I'm hungry again. Sometimes I will just eat out with friends to socialize. But from a hunger point of view, the need is limited. Actually, a lot of the eating out is socializing need. It is not the food need, right? So the reason you end up paying for the same food inside a restaurant, at a 5-star restaurant, you may pay 1,000 rupees for it, is because of the environment, the experience, not the food itself, right?
Right.
So it is again an experience and a mental need that you're satisfying, not the food need itself. So the mental needs are infinite. Like for me to feel happy, for me to feel involved, it's infinite needs, and the physical needs are finite needs, right? So I come to that. Now, if you see, even in our, like I said, we are social animals, it's community. Being part of a community I desire is very important. So I'll first stop here. So like people who get into golf clubs, they get into different clubs. Of course, they get into the clubs because they believe in the club might represent something, there might be an interest group, etc. around it. But there's an aspiration to get into certain clubs, right? Like people always talk about millionaire club, billionaire club. Why do they call it a club? They call it a club because it's aspirational, not just because of the money, but it's aspirational to hang around those people. And getting into that, there is a lot of work needed, right? For example, social status, right? Very important to all of us. And to attain a status, to become a status symbol, there's a lot of work. If you want to be the best doctor, you have to work for years. If you want to be the best CA, years. If you want to be a great influencer, lot of energy and effort, right? Now I came to you and said, here is this exclusive club. Everybody can't get in, but whoever gets in can just buy it, right? Suddenly the price will go up like crazy, right? Think about like golf clubs in India have very expensive memberships, right? But they don't allow secondary sales. But if they allowed secondary sales, the prices would shoot up like crazy, right? Yeah. And if they said that, listen, the only criteria is the money you put up front. It doesn't matter. We are not going to judge whether you are from XYZ, you are the, X person or Y person, because in a lot of clubs, they ask you for references, etc. You remove all that, and the only criteria is how much money you can put in. People have money. right? They have earned money from a different place, but to get status and to become part of an aspirational community is almost invaluable. So there is no surprise in my mind that these things are going into millions of dollars, because these are aspirational communities. And some of those communities, like CryptoPunks, Bored Ape, also become status symbol, right? Like a Ferrari, which sells for $1 million, and another car that sells for $50,000. A Ferrari is not 20 times better than that car, right? But the reason you are in that Ferrari is also signifies something. It signifies your excellence, it signifies your success, etc. And that's why you pay so much for it, and you're willing to do it, and you happily do it. The same way, to aspire to get into a community which is everyone desires, you're happy to pay money, right? So even at $1 million, it could be still a very good investment if you believe that Web3 is going to grow, keep growing, which I definitely strongly believe. So that, at least for me, is a tick mark. And that they can maintain remaining an aspirational community. That is something that you have to analyze and convince yourself that, yeah, that will remain the case. For that to happen, the community has to keep doing something,
right,
where the actions of that community show that this is an aspirational community. They can't just sit on their hands and say, okay, cool, I own CryptoPunk, it will always remain aspirational, right? It'll have to be the best experience for the members. It'll have to be the best access to other things. Something or the other needs to keep happening for it to remain an aspirational community. But if Web3 grows, if it will always remain aspirational, the price is going to keep going up, because the need to become part of an aspirational community will always be there. And the need to be a status symbol will also always be there. That's a innate human need. It has nothing to do with Web3. Web3 is only a form of doing that.
Correct. No, that's wonderfully put out. And in fact, like, it's a small community which is being built out, and it's very scarce also. It's only 10,000 in number. So people value it in that manner. And anyone who's buying that will think that either he can sell it for more than what he has bought, or he can just get the utility in terms of being in that community. So that's very well put out. Just asking a couple of other questions as well on the recent crypto taxation of 30%. So of course, you would know that in the Union Budget 2022, finance minister announced that 30% flat tax would be there on transactions in cryptocurrencies, like transactions in virtual digital assets, which of course includes cryptocurrencies. And now, like, some of them are saying that, okay, so it means that the government has legalized cryptocurrencies because they have put a taxation of 30%. And other experts are also stating that they want to, like, they don't want to promote cryptocurrencies. That's why they have not allowed setting off losses of cryptocurrency. So if I have losses of cryptocurrencies, I cannot set off with my gains, which is the case with other investments like stock markets, etc. So just wanted to understand your view that whether this is the right way of doing or taxing cryptocurrencies, or if not, what alternative method you would have recommended in terms of legitimizing the entire cryptocurrency space.
Okay, so lot of questions to unpack, and obviously very hot topic. So let me take it one by one. First, on the legality of crypto and what it means by this taxation. So even before this came out, my view was that crypto was not going to get banned in India, right? By the way, the government has still not come out and said that crypto is legal in India. This is obviously, we are implying from all the steps they are taking, including this taxation. So let's be very clear. There is nothing explicit the government has said it's legal now and we'll never make it illegal, right? Firstly, even if it's legal today, it can be made illegal tomorrow, right? It has happened a lot with many things over the time, not only in India, everywhere in the world. Secondly, they haven't said that it's legal, but if you read between the lines, there was a lot of issue and a lot of uncertainty last year, end of last year, when there was a talk that, oh my God, the government is going to ban, the government is going to ban. They came out a lot really saying that we are not going to ban, we are going to regulate it, right? The taxation is another very big signal in the same direction, that it's going to get regulated, not banned, right? So to be very clear, I also believe that the risk, in my mind, the risk was 5% before, like, this tax announcement came. The risk has probably gone down, in my mind at least, to 1%, that it will get banned. So 99%, according to me, crypto is now legal in India. Does that mean the 1% event can't happen? Of course it can, but that's the probability I put, right? So that's one part. So it's an implicit read. The second part of the 30% taxation. So firstly, the excitement that everybody had the first day, that, oh, thank God, it's getting taxed, great, was a relief. That, oh my God, the move from banning it, now we are at least talking about regulating it. So whatever the risks were have reduced dramatically, that it will get banned. So there was a first relief. Obviously, 30% tax, not getting the offset, like you do in equities. Equity long-term capital gain is 10% after a year for public equities, etc., etc. has boosted equities, and we would also desire that the same thing happens with crypto, because I believe India can become the leader in Web3, and without having supportive regulation, we will not get there, right? So I'll start with that. However, let me also clear some other facts, because there is definitely a lot more negativity about this. I also, by the way, urge the government, I've written a tweet on that as well, that let's please look at this 30% and let's have a, reduce it so that India can become the leader in Web3 itself. And the taxation actually becomes a boost for the country, a boost for the ecosystem, and we take that global leadership position, right? But 30% taxation, one thing, for people who are above 10 lakhs of income, anyway, the taxation is going to be that 30%. So they don't get that affected. One. Two, the cost of acquisition can be offset for this 30% tax. B, I think one of the things that it was clarified to me today is that your crypto losses can be offset by your crypto profits for that year. So unlike equities where you could carry them forward, here you can't carry them forward. But unlike gambling, where you cannot offset any other losses, this can be offset, which is another indication that the government is not just looking at it as gambling or illegal. They're looking at it as legal. This is the first step and the first way that they're actually looking to legalize it and regulate it and tax it, etc. Right? So you have to see that the stance has moved from very, negative from a government's perspective that, crypto is bad, to now a little more defensive that, let's do it, but let's take baby steps. But the baby steps have started. Obviously, what we desire is the government really comes out in our support and the ecosystem support and really boost it, because the overall tax the government will make, overall employment in this sector, overall what happens with India and its leadership in Web3 will all only happen when the government comes out and supports us. But the crypto tax at 30%, that's why it's also very, very good news, because no risk of ban now, according to me and most people. Some indications that crypto losses can be offset against profit for that year itself definitely indicate that they're looking at it as definitely more, not a gambling income, etc., but a more regulated earned income, so on and so forth. And I'm hoping that the right steps will keep being made so that the ecosystem gets boosted itself. So that's my strong view.
Absolutely, that makes a lot of sense, and I think I agree with you as well. My point here was that like crypto assets, like crypto investments, should be more looked as an investment asset rather than cryptocurrencies. The confusion which happened was that government thought that it's cryptocurrency, so they were thinking that it's going to replace the fiat currency, and that was the main reason that they were willing to put a ban, and they came up with some regulations in 2018. Supreme Court banned that in 2020, and then again they came up with new regulations taxing the cryptocurrencies. So if we look at it as a crypto asset instead of cryptocurrency, I think half of the problems would be solved. And once we look at it as an investment asset, then I think there's no problem in terms of taxing it and making it legal as well. So that is my view in terms of viewing it, this entire crypto asset space.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. See, like the approach US has taken is exactly what you are saying, which is that cryptocurrency is actually a commodity. So it's actually an asset rather than a legal tender, which I don't think most governments in the world will not accept it as legal tender. Obviously, some like El Salvador have gone out of the way, made it legal tender. And that's, again, I think a great marketing angle that they have done. They were the first country in the world to do it. So they get a lot of press and PR for doing that. And the president there is very active to promote the country. And that actually helps the country on many different levels, not just by making it legal tender. In fact, I think all the losses he has got from making it as a legal tender investing are more than compensated for what the benefits are in marketing itself. So I don't think India will ever make it legal tender. They have again made that clear. I agree with you, it will be an asset. See, the question becomes that once you make it an asset and a security, you then are, as soon as security comes, SEBI needs to get involved, RBI needs to have very clear rule. And this is still a very new area, right? Like I know for a fact that even RBI is doing a lot of due diligence and experiments on even private blockchains to really understand what are the actual use cases where crypto can help. Like, are there cases of trade finance that it can help in? Are there cases of lending, borrowing that it can actually help in and improve the system? So it's not like the government or RBI is close to it. They're doing a lot of experimentation. By the way, the fact that they're doing experimentation also doesn't mean that they will allow all of those facts, but they're very open to understand what it is. And we'll have to see what their final decision actually comes out as. And I really feel that because US is taking the leadership on it, a lot of countries may look at the frameworks being put by the US as actually a good example of how to manage it. So I also feel that very likely crypto comes out as a commodity. So like an asset that you are saying in India as well.
Right. In fact, there was a recent Goldman Sachs report, and in that report, they had stated that now the value of cryptocurrencies, it's 20% market share in the entire digital store of value assets. So they were comparing this with digital gold, and they stated that this 20% market share of cryptocurrencies as an investment asset in digital store of value, this is going to increase from 20 to let's say 50 in the near future, because like this is going to be the future now, and therefore they also view it as a store of value, but in the digital sense. So the way you buy sovereign gold bonds, which is the digital bond, that is nothing but digital store of value asset. So they stated that even bitcoins or even cryptocurrencies, they should be viewed as digital store of value, and this market share is going to increase in the future. So again, that backs up the fact that viewing it as a commodity or as an investment asset clears half of the problems, and then governments like they wouldn't have any problem because of the fact that it's an asset and it's not replacing any currency. So
Correct.
that was
I agree with it. I agree with it.
right.
But I also think that, look, I'll just point here that, see, the fundamental thing that people need to accept and be aware of is that, see, for thousands of years, probably, we have always looked up to some institution to actually say that trust and flows from that institution, whether that was kings before, or now governments, or in places which are not democratic, the autocratic ruler who is in place, etc. There has always been some centralized body. The centralized body may come from democracy, from monarchy, from autocracy, whatever, from dictatorship, whatever it is. They come from some methodology, but it's centralized, right? Now suddenly when we talk about a world where the fact that the value of rupee is because the RBI backs it, and they are promising that actually rupee is worth something. Now we are actually promising to each other, and we can uphold that promise because it is codified inside crypto. That's what it is in essence, right? It's a very difficult philosophical concept to get your head around, right? So now you're saying here, who will promise you Bitcoin? You're like, oh, we are promising to each other. You're like, why should I trust you? You're like, oh, you don't need to, because it's in the code. So it's very difficult. It's like, what? It's in the code? So it's like, I could maybe get around the head that you and I have promised, and we together as a community have promised, because a lot of communities, like, so for example, in the Gujarat community, there's a lot of lending that happens on an informal basis, because as a community they lend to each other informally on verbal promises, and it works as a system. So people could even get through that, but getting that it is codified and we're trusting code to actually do it is a very, very new concept, right? So I'm just the reason I'm saying this is we also have to be a little bit aware and accept the fact that it is actually a very new concept. So it will take people some time to get their heads around, right?
Yeah.
Maybe people, like, maybe some of us have gotten our heads around it and we accept it, but they are definitely in a position that they need to look at a lot more risks than we look at, because that's the position they are in, and they have been elected on that position by us only, right? So I think it's also fair to move a little bit cautiously, right?
Absolutely. I think that was very, very insightful. And over the last 1 hour or so, like, I mean, I have gained a lot of insights personally about cryptos, NFTs, Metaverse, Web 3.0. So in fact, like, special thanks to you for taking out your time and guiding the entire audience in a very simplistic manner in terms of what exactly is meta, what exactly is crypto. I'm sure this is going to be very value additive. Just like before we end this, one last question from my side. If you were to reconsider your marriage again, would you do it in Metaverse or would you still do it in physical land?
My wife is actually moving around here, and when you asked that question, the way she looked at me, I was actually going to answer that I would have done it in the metaverse, but I think I would be the only person standing in that 3D avatar in the digital world. So, like everyone's marriage is different for different people. I think in my case, I would not have the choice. I would have to still do it in the real world. But maybe I will do some animation, which would be fun, and give it to her, and she'll allow me to do that, because she'll be like, okay, you have had your fun, and the actual marriage took place in the way she wanted it to. So unfortunately, that's the reality right now.
No, got it. That was very, very interesting. So thanks a lot, Anshul. And I mean, I enjoyed a lot, and thanks a lot for taking out your time. Indeed, everyone is
Thank
going to
you.
love this
I enjoyed
podcast.
this a lot as well, Kushal.
Yeah,
I hope we do this again.
absolutely.